Today we'll be looking at one of the first photo books I bought, and a specific perspective I have on it. From my shelf, allow me to show you Sebastião Salgado's Gold. Salgado was born in a rural area in Minas Gerais in Brazil, studied economics and worked for the International Coffee Organization before becoming a photographer in the 1970s. He joined the photographic agency Sigma and Gamma in 1974 and 75 and Magnum in 79 until the founding of his own agency Amazonas Images in 1994. It is undeniable that Sebastião Salgado is one of the most accomplished and important photographers of our time at all levels. His photographing and printing methods are exemplary and worthy of study, but, in my opinion, it's his subject matter that makes him one of the greats. To the age-old question, can photography change the world? Pointing to Salgado's work would be a perfect answer. Sebastião Salgado has dedicated his career to humanity and nature, and his work ranges from the great landscapes of the Amazon to the struggles of working people, gold being an example of this. But before we dive into the book, let me tell you about my story with it. Even though I'm more inclined to other types of photography, such as that which features color, urban settings, buildings, territory, Sebastião Salgado's Gold is one of my favorite photographical works. There is something about it that has mesmerized me from the first time I saw its cover. I dated this book for a few months. Every time I went to the local mall, I ended up going to this bookstore, picking up Gold and gazing through its pages, and as soon as I could afford it, I bought the book. I already knew Salgado's work, but with this book, it was different. Gold is Taschen's 2019 publication of a series Salgado made about the northern Brazilian mine, Serra Pelada, located in the state of Pará. As with all of Salgado's books, Gold was conceived and designed by his wife and work partner, Lélia Salgado. It features an introduction written by Salgado and a text by contributing author Alan Riding. This beautiful edited and printed book, with its 33 by 24.5 cm pages, perfectly renders the deepness, richness and quality of Salgado's images. The precious metal that lends its name to the book was first discovered in Serra Pelada in 1979, and soon after the gold rush began. The first man established a cooperative that granted 2 by 3 meters allotments to prospectors, and thousands of miners came right after. Salgado first tried to photograph the mine in 1980, but wasn't allowed because of the press restrictions imposed by the Brazilian army, which was in power since the 1964 military coup. Finally, in 1986, after the fall of the regime, Salgado managed to get permission to photograph the mine, and was able to share a cabin with one of his father's friends who was also a prospector. At first, the mud-covered working man thought Salgado, who had a long blonde hair and mustache, was sent as a spy by the company that claimed the rights to the mine, and was a target of protests. For Salgado's sake, the police thought he was a foreigner. They handcuffed him and took him to the police station, where he claimed to be a miner and showed his Brazilian ID. Upon his return to the mine, the workers, who previously mistrusted Salgado, welcomed him back with cheers, as no one connected to the company would be treated like that by the police. This event brought the workers and the mine closer to Salgado and helped him in the development of this amazing photographic work. In the book's introduction, Salgado describes the workings of the mine, its structure, its workflow, its perils, its excitement and disappointments, its consequences, its present. And at a certain point, Salgado points out that, at first sight, the mine appears to be a disorderly movement of men. But, in fact, it was a very sophisticated system, where each of the more than 50,000 workers knew the role they chose to play. And this analysis leads me to why I particularly love this book. Allow me to explain. Early on I said that I preferred photography whose motifs are, amongst others, urban settings, buildings and territory. I particularly like to see how people, photographers, perceive, interpret and describe the structures we build, and how we and the environment relate to them over time. And when I look at this work, this is kind of what I see, a sophisticated system that resembles an urban setting, a city like New York or São Paulo. I see cityscapes and details of the human-made urban structures, The ladders and plot divisions can be buildings or roads, and the workers, the windows, the lights, or the cars of the city. But I don't only see generic cityscapes, I see concrete specific scenarios. I see LA's 405 gridlock, I see Tokyo's Shibuya crossing, I see Robert Frank's Metropolitan Life Insurance building, or even Gursky's Chicago Board of Trade. It's important for me to stress that my liking of this work is not merely an aesthetic preference. Yes, the aesthetics of these images and their resemblance to these scenarios entice me, as does the overall portrayal of the mine and the austere working and living conditions of the workers, who Salgado depicts with the utmost dignity and integrity. But there is also a double meaning I see in them, as if they are metaphors. What I mean is that the societal and physical structures of the mine are similar to a certain degree to those witnessed in an urban setting, such as the intricate constructions, the environmental impact, the amount of time spent at work, or the unequal distribution of the revenue that arises from labor. For instance, Salgado explains that most of the gold is distributed between the owner of the lot and the capitalist, as the miners call them, who invested in the operation, and the diggers and carriers would only take home a very small share of the precious metal that they dug out. Let me be clear, I'm not saying that these two realities are the same. The harshness, rawness, and dangers of working in a mine are very different from those found in a city. But, in a way, they speak of parallel experiences that we as a society create and contribute to. Furthermore, the objective of this video isn't to make a thorough analysis of Sebastião Salgado's work in Serra Pelada, but to describe this very particular layer of my reading of gold, and how photography, and any other art form for that matter, may gain other meanings when it reaches us, the spectator. I truly believe that this approach to art not only doesn't take away from the original work or its purpose, but in fact it enriches it with new perspectives and understandings and may pave the way for new projects. So I hope you enjoyed this video and it has encouraged you to check out Sebastião Salgado's extremely meaningful work and legacy. I'll leave some links in the description for those of you who want to read further. I would also love to know your take on Salgado's work and other books that you would like me to talk about. So leave a comment down below or on my Instagram post about this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing, it goes a long way, and check out my other work on my website and my social media. See you in the next video.